Hey, what's up everyone? So today I'm going to be showing a lot of books, but all of them will be from my favorite publisher at the moment, Glacier Bay Books. So I thought it would be a pretty fitting time to finally do a spotlight video on everything I own so far from Glacier Bay, just because a couple months ago I had the Kickstarter books arrive, and that was like 10 books in total, so it skyrocketed how many books I own from them, so maybe now 20 or so. But yeah, so they are my favorite English publisher at the moment. To go over who they are, I've just pulled up a little description from their website. So they are a small independent publisher founded in 2019 in Oregon, USA. So they focus on indie and alternative manga, works in translation, contemporary literature and art, and the small press scene. So the first time I had ever come across their works was back in, I would say, 2022 or 23. I discovered them from Japan Book Hunter. So they were doing a video, maybe a whole video, and I think they showed Children of Newtown first. And when I went looking up the rest of their books, the first book I got from them was Glaeolia 3. So I kind of came late to the scene because Glaeolia 3 came out in 2022, I believe. So from that point on, I was amazed by the quality of their works and the choice of all these different types of artists in that anthology, that I decided to pretty much find as much as I could from their stuff. So now, a huge fan, and am still expecting more books from them in the future. So yeah, so what I'll start off with will be all of the Kickstarter books that I received. So I've got them all sitting on the side next to me. So a couple of these I have read, I'm still getting through them, and most of them I haven't read though. But yeah, I hope this video sort of persuades you guys to check them out and pick up a few books, because they've been very consistent with, number one, the quality, but number two, showing off some really amazing artists in all of their works. They do a good mix between like doujinshi, indie, and more mainstream artists, and all of them make their sort of, it's not discography, I guess catalog. Glacier Bay's catalog is very, I guess if you were to read all of them, they all pertain to a very nice sort of atmosphere. It's a bit hard for me to explain, but every single work that they have licensed and published all feel very Glacier Bay books. But without further ado, we're going to start with one of my favorites and most anticipated releases of their stuff, and just in English releases in general, this one here. So I have shown off this specific manga before. This is Natsujikei Miyazaki, and this book is called And the Strange and Funky Happenings One Day. So originally it was published in 2020, and this came out in the 24 Kickstarter. So it's a collection of 8-page short stories. There's 33 different short stories throughout this, as you can see here. And all of them were published, where was it? It says here, in Hayakawa's SF magazine. So each of these short stories focus on a different premise. A lot of it is very wacky and wild and very random, but they do boil down to really expressing the niches of everyday living, of the routine that we go through. But all of the stories have their own wacky and wild spins to them. So you're going to be following time-traveling high school girls, invisible people, warriors that are eaten up by beasts. There's so many different things that are shown in this manga that you can't really sum it up properly, I would say. But each and every one of them, like, I read this all in one sitting because, number one, they're very short, sort of bite-sized stories, 8 pages for each, but each of those 8 pages are usually very jam-packed with content, and you can pretty much, yeah, get through it in a couple hours or so. And I honestly would recommend you to do this all in one sitting, because you get the full experience of Natsujikei's work, which this is the first English collection or first English release of any of her stuff in English. So very excited to get this. This has popped up. This will be on other stores, I believe, after, you know, the Kickstarter has already ended, but you can still find a lot of these books on various stores throughout, like, you know, the US, Canada, and internationally too. So highly recommend this one. I mean, like, Natsujikei is one of those artists that you can't really find anyone else that is similar to her. And so having her in their catalog is just amazing. And she's one of the artists where she's not on the doujinshi side. She's not really mainstream, but she is well known. And compared to some of the other artists, definitely in the catalog of Glacier Bay. But it's one of the artists that I really, really push every single time I get a book and I want to show it off. So highly recommend picking this one up. I'm not going to really spoil much, and I kind of said anyways, it's kind of hard to spoil anything in this because they're all so many different stories, so many different twists and premises that pop up. So yeah, that's the first one there. I've read this. The first thing that I did after I got the Kickstarter was reading this specific book. All right, so let's move on to another book. This one I haven't read yet. This is called 100 Views of Reality by Kijitori Byu. So let me just bring up my notes for this one, because I haven't read this one yet. Let me see. Where did I put the notes? But this one's quite a big book as well. Very nice book to flip through. There we go. All right, found my notes for it. And we've got a little, or actually a big sort of flap on this. Here is the synopsis of it. So it is a 300-page plus collection of short stories from Kijitori, and this is their very first released in English. So what I know from the description that they put for Kijitori Byu is that they were active in the komitia doujin scene of the early 2010s. So komitia, if you've heard of before, is that doujin sort of marketplace or event that they hold in Japan. And you might have also heard the term komiket pop up as well. And just as a distinction between the two, komitia is only for original doujinshi. So no parodies, no fan art or fan creations of existing IPs. Komiket includes those parodies and those fan doujins. So, you know, you can find a lot of like doujinshi on existing, you know, jump works, whatever, in Komiket. But in komitia, it's only original works. So this here was it takes from a specific self-published collection called Zenbu Toki ni Atta, which was a jury selection for the 20th Japan Media Arts Award. So I did a little flip through of this. I haven't read this one yet, but this sort of goes back to my point of when I was saying that all of the stuff that Glacier Bay publishes, they are very characteristic and fit under the rest of their catalog. So looking at Natsujikei, and 100 Views of Reality, you see these very soft art styles, sometimes very simple overall, not too heavy in the detail, and that is one thing that I really like in a lot of the stuff that Glacier Bay puts out. So this one here, I can't really comment on the contents yet, but very much seems like my type of thing, kind of with some magical realism, I guess, but a lot of very simple looking panels, simply laid out stories that I feel I would enjoy. So yeah, here is a little description. of their stuff and their socials that you can find out as well. And yeah, this is also a very nice book too. The quality is amazing. I should also show the spine. And the back here. Yeah, can't wait to get this into this one too. But I can pretty much say the same for all of the Kickstarter, or most of the Kickstarter books. I've maybe read 3 of them out of the 10 so far. So let's move on to the next work here. Here we have a pretty, for fans of Glacier Bay, this is one that is very anticipated amongst fans of Imai Arata, who had published F before. So this is Flashpoint, published by 2024, translated by Ryan Holberg. There's also an interview that was facilitated by Holberg and conducted by Zach from Uchu Shelf, I believe, which is also on YouTube as well. So I will put that in the description. But this one I haven't read. But in this, oh, actually, I think I put everyone's postcards in here. So here we have the postcards that I received. Oh, this one's kind of stuck. Just give me 1 second. Here we go. All right. Yeah, I forgot that I put all the postcards together from the Kickstarter. So this one is, well, these 2 are from Flashpoint. Very cute. This one we've got from Spring Tides by Andrew White, which I'll be showing off later. And then this one, I believe, which one was this one? To the Sea by Mukoubi Aoi. Very detailed, love this one too. Yeah, I totally forgot I put those in there. So going back to Flashpoint, here is the back of it. So if you've read F, then this is sort of in the same vein of manga that is focused on political topics. And here is the synopsis for it. So from what I know, the main characters, they photobomb a rally held by former Prime Minister Abe Shinzo. And things get out of hand from that point. I think it very much is related to the social media side of things, especially now. And so one thing you'll notice is if you've read F, the style is very different, because I believe the manga was all done digitally versus the hand-drawn stuff from F. So you see a lot more screen tones, a lot more cleaner background layouts and character designs, which I love both. I mean, F was just amazing. I will show that off too, because I got the reprint of that in the Kickstarter. But this one here is another work that you probably won't find in any other sort of mainstream manga. It is very direct, as much as F was. So very much looking forward to this. And also, if you do read this, please check out that interview with Uchu Shelf and Ryan Holberg. But yeah, Flashpoint, this is on my to-read list next, after I finish my next book. Because everyone that has read it seems to love it. So very excited for this. Can't wait to get into it, especially after reading F. So yeah, that was Flashpoint by Imai Arata. And if you've been keeping up with him on social media, I think like a month ago he cut his, he posted a couple of things on his social media about how he cut like a piece of his thumb off, which is just very insane just seeing that on his social media. But I think everything's okay now, so that's all good. But yeah, Flashpoint. Let's move on to the next one here. We've got a reprint this time. So, Children of Mewtown. Let me go to my notes on that. So, Children of Mewtown was a part of the Kickstarter. It's a reprint because originally it was released in 2021 by Glacier Bay, but here we've got a 2024 reprint. So, this is by Masumura Juushichi. Or, yeah, Juushichi. A bit hard for me to pronounce, but I am currently reading one of his other works, actually, by the name of Bakuchan, which I'll show later. But Children of Mewtown, the premise seems so interesting. So I'll just read out what it says. I think, does it show here? Yeah. Yeah, it kind of does explain a bit here, but what I found online, I'll just read that out. So it's stylistically intermingling themes of gentrification and rebirth within the setting of a classic Yakuza crime drama. Children of Mewtown follows the course charted by youths of an aging residential housing complex who are struggling for their lives, burdened by financial issues, peer pressure, and uncertain futures. Ensnared in the clutches of organized crime, they are searching for a way to survive. So, insanely captivating of a synopsis to me. And so, with the experience of reading Bakuchan, which I'll actually show now. So Bakuchan is a little bit different. It's a 2-volume series, serialized in Comic Beam. This one has a more lighter feel to it because it's following a little tapir boy who comes from his own little planet. He immigrates to Earth. And this whole manga is based on the author's own experience of immigrating to Canada. So the tapir is kind of a stand-in for the author, and it follows how pretty much the immigrant experience, what they have to deal with in terms of finding a job, sort of finding stability in all of their lives, both social and financial. And so this one, although it does focus on serious topics, is way more light-hearted than what Children of Mewtown sounds like at the moment, because we've got pretty much like a crime drama. So very, very excited for that. Love Juushichi's art style, and a very high quality book as well. So I do remember trying to find this back when I did discover Glacier Bay, and feeling pretty sad because it was all out of print. So when I saw that they were adding this as a reprint for the Kickstarter, I was so overjoyed because it satisfied 2 of my most wanted out of print books by them. They reprinted this, and they also reprinted F, which was also out of print when I did get into them. So this Kickstarter has been like a miracle for me, pretty much. So yeah, this very excited to get into this too. Everyone that I know who has read this as well loves it. So yeah, a very simple cover too, but I'm expecting a lot of crazy stuff to be happening on the inside. So that was Children of Mewtown. We are now going to move on to, I'll just pick randomly from the stack here. So this one is Red Riding Hood's Wolf Apprentice, Final Testament to the Moon #2 by Sayaka Mogi. I don't actually have #1. This one I just picked up from the Kickstarter because the original one had come out a while ago, like the first volume, but to support the Kickstarter, I bought this along with it. So I actually was very surprised because I knew Sayaka Mogi from Pupa, which is very infamous actually in the, I guess if you've read the manga, I think there's even like an anime for it, but Pupa was crazy. So was very surprised that to see her name in amongst the catalog of Glacier Bay books. So I will be trying to find the first volume of this to actually read all together. But yeah, love the art of Sayaka Mogi as well. And she does her color usage, like in all of her cover arts of her other manga, is amazing. She loves to do this very nice combo of these blue, greens, reds, that sort of thing. But yeah, can't wait to get into this once I do find the actual first volume. But the synopsis of this is sort of like, I think it says, there used to be many werewolves, but now only few remain. Here's the detailed tragic fate of werewolf twin Skull and Hati in this final testament to the moon. yeah, very nice one. It's got this little shiny texture to it too. All right, so moving on, let's go to the next one, F. So F by Imai Arata. Once I finished, well, the first book I read from the Kickstarter was the Natsujikei one. The next one I picked up was this one, F by Imai Arata, reprinted in the Kickstarter. So this one was a masterpiece, in my opinion. It's one of the most unique manga I've read in a while, and it's a very bold one too, because it is very political. So the original title of this in Japanese was John Cantley, and it's the whole story is pretty much like a parallel to what had happened in real life. So John Cantley is an actual British reporter who was I think maybe in 2016 was last seen as a hostage for IS. And so this whole story does focus on that, but has a little sort of twist, because we have two different factions. So we have the Nihonmatsu Front and those who call themselves the State of F. And so I really don't want to spoil this too much, because reading it all in one sitting was such an experience that I really don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read it yet, but I will flip through the art. So comparing it to Flashpoint, you see more of the hand-drawn, like everything here is hand-drawn. You can see it's more loose, but still quite detailed throughout the entire work. And it can get very brutal at times. A lot of harsh events happen, and what's interesting as well is the essay provides a lot of the background to the creation of this manga, what Arata's intentions were, the exhibitions that this was a part of as well. So the essay is very informative, and it's also throughout the story we have a little section here of like a sort of pseudo report sort of thing, which once you get up to it is quite I would say, yeah, sort of confronting, because if you know the events of what had happened in real life back in 2016, it's a pretty good parallel to that. But yeah, so I really don't want to explain too much of F, but please check out F. It's one of my favorite manga out of everything that Glacier Bay has put out, so very grateful that they have reprinted this one, and it's such a captivating cover as well, red and black. So yeah, F by Imai Arata, originally published in 2021, reprinted in the 24 Kickstarter. So let me just move stuff here. All right, next one here, we've got a manga by the name of The Other Side of the Clouds, Volume 1. So let me bring up the notes for this one. Okay, so this one is by Yoruno Hitsujigumo, and this here, as far as I know, is the only English publication of their stuff at the moment. So here is the synopsis for it. So from what I know, this looks more like just a slice of life, and sometimes it's hard to describe the plots of slice of life works, but this one I haven't read yet, but very excited to read because I can't get enough of slice of life. I will never stop reading slice of life stuff, and this just seems up my alley. Very cute. Also as well, some darker tones, I think, from what I can see. So this is a volume 1, so very excited that there will hopefully be more of the stuff by Yoruno. So here's the inside. So always amazingly well made books as well. All of the books that I have from them so far, there's nothing, I've never had any issues with them. They're always the nicest books in my collection, anything that Glacier Bay puts out. So yeah, that was The Other Side of the Clouds. next we have Spring Tides by Andrew White. So this came with the Kickstarter that was, it was bundled with F and Flashpoint. So Spring Tides, Andrew White is I believe the first time that, Andrew White is published with Glacier Bay. They have released some other works, but if you take a look at their art style, sort of a sketchy pencil drawn feel to everything. A lot of quiet panels, a lot of simple ones that deal with, or not deal with, because I haven't read it yet, but they all feel very reflective. And a lot of the stuff that I've seen from Andrew White, because they have, I will link their works in the description, because Andrew White has done some other stuff. But this one here, was very excited because out of the entire catalog, I think, well, definitely most of the stuff that GBV puts out is from Japanese artists, but there is, we've got Andrew White here, and we've also got Hana Chatani, who is from New Zealand. So a lot of diversity that we're slowly getting from the publisher, which is always amazing, because it very much is actually really good timing, because I'm starting to get into like comics outside of Japan and Japanese manga in general. So seeing this, I was like, you know what, really good timing. I'm gonna pick this up as well to support them. But yeah, I haven't read this one yet. We'll get back to you guys on what I think of this, but another manga that just seems totally up my alley. Everything is up my alley, to be honest. So yeah, that was Spring Tides by Andrew White. I should explain, I think I did put notes for this. Sorry, I've just I've got a whole Word document here, and I just need to find where okay. So Spring Tides is a new long-form graphic novel from lauded poetic comics artist Andrew White, depicting in subtle blue ink a two-part story narrating in images, sounds, and size as much as it does in text. The emotional landscapes and physical turmoil of a young couple isolated after a flood submerges the earth and then slowly recedes, but might return at any time. So this here, the description of it also references the COVID-19 pandemic too. So it's not the only work that actually references that. Another book by the name of Pandora that I will show later is another story that very much touches upon the struggles and all the issues that had appeared during the pandemic. So yeah, very interested to get into this one soon. So let's move on to the next one. We've got, I think, maybe 2 more left of the Kickstarter. This here I am very, very interested in, because I've actually read the original book that this was sort of based on, its premise was based on. So this is Seaside Beta by Ohuton, who has had multiple works that have been published by Glacier Bay, which I don't have, unfortunately. So this one came in the Kickstarter, published in 2024. And this book is, let me see if it shows in the actual thing here, the synopsis of it. Okay, so here's a little bit of the story in here as well about Ohuton. Yep, Dear Sarah, I'll be waiting at the solution. Those have been published by Glacier Bay Books. But the description of this mentions that it's a sci-fi work that was inspired by Flatland. So I forgot who the author was for Flatland, but Flatland was a work that I read in high school that was just crazy. It's just a dystopia based on a world where a 2D world where the more edges that you have, the higher up you are in the social hierarchy. So I forgot what shape the main character was, but you had like people who were, I think, priests or stuff. They were like dodecahedrons or whatever. I don't remember the details, but having read Flatland and coming across a manga that has been inspired by Flatland is such an interesting concept to me. I really am curious as to finding out what this is about specifically. And ohuton has a great art style too. I follow them on their socials, and yeah, we've got a very unique looking manga that I'm just so curious as to what it could be about. And we've got these little color panels too. So yeah, that was Seaside Beta by Ohuton. And if you can see here, let me see. Yep, you can see the zeros and ones. It's printed onto the cover with a little bit of texture to it. And same for the back as well. Sorry guys, I just woke up maybe like half an hour ago. I'm still kind of sleepy, so I apologize if I do slur my words or am unable to pronounce anything. So now I think we're on to the last book of the Kickstarters. Okay, so this one is To the Sea by Mukoubi Aoi. And this one's a very big one, actually. One of, I think, the biggest book out of the set of books in the Kickstarter. So this one here, so here's a little description of Aoi. Passionate about creating manga after reading Moto Hagio's There Were 11, which I don't think I read yet, but this is another doujinshi artist. So here is the description of it. Seems very interesting description. I don't think I can really grasp what it could be about yet, but just take a look at the art. Now, I'll show off the postcard as well. Out of everything, the art style in here was just, look at that detail. And here's the postcard that we had from the artist. So this I think is how many pages? Maybe 500 pages or so. It's a very large book, but the amount of detail and the consistency in all the art is so nice throughout the entire book. Seems like a big epic of a story, and I love the little kind of like the creamy color to the overall book. This has also been published in Japanese under a different name, or maybe it's the same name but just in Japanese as well, which I did see too. It's got I'll link it in the description. It's got like a blue cover. But yeah, this overall story was serialized between 2007 to 2012, and it's the English debut of Mukoubi Aoi. So they publish doujinshi manga, so another artist that is more on the indie side of things. And so, you know, what other opportunity would you have to read something like this? If they didn't publish their work in tankobon, then probably the only venue you would find these works would be in Comiket, in Comitia, which if you're outside of Japan, you're not really gonna have much access to. You know, sometimes after Comitia, like stores like Mandarake could put up some works from it, but you're not gonna get the full scale of all those releases that come out throughout each of the Comikets, each of the Comitias. So that's another real selling point to Glacier Bay. The fact that they are finding all of these indie doujinshi unknown artists that you really wouldn't have much access to otherwise if you're outside of Japan. And even if you're inside Japan, if you don't go to these events, there's probably hard to find as well. I'm sure these artists do their own they have like their own personal stores and stuff, but stock may be limited, and just having all this in one big tome in such a high quality release is such a bonus as well. But yeah, so that was To the Sea by Mukoubi Aoi, and I think that wraps up all of the Kickstarter books that I've had from the 2024 Kickstarters they did. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to move all these books across and bring out the rest of my collection. Okay, so here's the next set of books that I'll be going through, and the first one that we'll touch upon is this, Pandora. So I picked up Pandora quite a while ago, but read it relatively recently, a couple months ago. But this was the other book that I was talking about that was very tied in with the events of the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. So let me bring up the notes I have for this. So we've got, yep, here we go. So Pandora by Hagiwara Rei, published in 2023. And it's not the only work that Glacier Bay has published from Hagiwara. There's another shorter work, I believe, which I'll link in the description. But this, for me, is the only work that I have from them. So this is quite a big book. If I was to compare it to like a tankobon size Bakuchan, this is how big it is. It's quite a heavy one too. But the bonus of all of this is that every single page in here is in color. So the entirety of this short story collection is in this watercolor, very nice, very high quality as well. So what this book is, I think if I go back to the start, yeah. So there's a short story collection, and I quote, "A collection of stories dealing with loss, with hope, with coping, with parallels to events like COVID and the 2011 disasters." So that's referencing the tsunamis and the earthquake, all accompanied by a gentle watercolor and softly drawn characters. So throughout the entirety of the story, I think the best thing about reading this, so I have read this, the best thing about this is the pacing. Because there's so much space and time that Hagiwara gives for you as the reader to sort of process all the artwork that she's putting on the page, all the dialogue as well. And there isn't too much dialogue too, so it's not a very heavy book in terms of processing information. I think it's just very heavy in terms of emotions, because the watercolor fits very much for the types of themes and the overall atmosphere that Hagiwara wants to showcase to the reader. So especially because, you know, with such a universal event like COVID that it's referencing, and also back in 2011, those the tsunami and the earthquake, referencing those disasters, you have very universal themes that pop up. So it doesn't matter what background you're from. I feel like anyone would be able to relate to the stories that she writes. And again, coming back to the whole catalog thing of Glacier Bay, another work that is very gentle, very soft in its visual storytelling, but still extremely impactful in what it wants to say. But yeah, so pacing, I think, is just the best thing about this manga. And here we've got kind of the, yeah, that's the little obi section of the manga. So it is tough to describe a strict plot to these stories. I think it's more something you'd have to experience yourself. It's not, there aren't stories where you can sort of describe with just a couple sentences what is happening, because a lot of the appeal of it would be through the emotions that are evoked. The emotions that are evoked while reading these stories, and just the watercolor is such a nice touch to everything. I mean, yeah, I really enjoyed Pandora, and yeah, released in 2023. I only read it towards the end of 2024, but highly recommend this one and picking this up if you're into watercolor, if you're into works that do reference those events. Okay, so that was the first one there. Next one, a work by Mississippi. So this one is called The Invisible Parade. And Mississippi, the first time I actually encountered them was back when I read the Kush issue, the Japan issue. They had a short story in there, which actually does appear here as well. So here is a little description of their stuff. I have shown off this specific book in a manga haul, but I have now since read the actual book, and just flipping through, another amazing artist with a very clean, simple, cute art style. I believe the story that was actually shown in the Kush issue was Tsukiko and the Satellite. I believe it's that one. But yeah, it's another work that, another collection of short stories that I would highly recommend if you do enjoy, I would say, mangaka like Natsujikei Miyazaki. If you enjoy Yoichi Abe, for example, very weird and wacky manga that, although they have, weird premises, they all do focus on the different parts of daily living. And a section of this book is like flipped, so it's upside down. You read it upside down, or you flip the book like this. But yeah, very much enjoyed this one. I read this all in one sitting too. It's another book that is hard to describe in terms of the strict plots, but it's got a very nice feel to things. It's not like, I wouldn't say they're all heavy. Some of them are bittersweet. There's a different variety of atmospheres and emotions that you get from reading all the short stories here, but highly recommend them. Mississippi, from my knowledge, has not had any other works published by Glacier Bay, but they have published other stuff themselves. So yeah, it's an amalgamation of magical realism, sci-fi, legends like the Loch Ness Monster, and it's a combination of melancholy but also wholesome stories too, and fits very well into the catalogue of Glacier Bay books. So yeah, that was Invisible Parade by Mississippi. The next book that I will show is another one of my favorite books of all time, from their catalogue, The Karman Line by Mitsuhashi Kotaro. So this one here, maybe start of 2024, I believe that I read this, and at the time I was just totally blown away by this book. I went into it with no expectations, did not know anything about the author, but it is to this day one of my favorite books that they've published. So this was back in 2022 that it was released, and so it collects all the one-shots published from 2014 to 2019 in this specific manga magazine called Suika Toko no Tane. And so Mitsuhashi Kotaro, they also do like graphic design work too. So if you follow their Instagram and I believe their Twitter as well, you'll see some of those designs there. But what the Karman line is as a concept, so the Karman line is the line between the atmosphere and outer space. So it's kind of like a boundary, and what this short story collection focuses on is this sort of boundary, but specifically a boundary between dreams and reality. So just looking from the panels right now, even out of context, you can sort of understand that these are very dreamlike works. There are some focusing on family, focusing on identity, but again, another work with a very gentle art style. A lot of this, I love the fact that this is all in this like dark blue instead of black, especially because we are like near the sea, near the water a lot of the time in these stories. And one of these works were published in Glaeolia 3. I think that was the very first time that I encountered their work. One short story, which I believe is actually this one here, which I'll show off all the Glaeolias that I have later on. I only have 1 and 3, I don't have 2 yet. But the Karman line is, I think, a masterpiece of manga that focuses on dreams. And yeah, if I had to really recommend anything from their catalog to someone who's never encountered any works by Glacier Bay before, I would normally recommend Glaeolia because it's such a good taste test to the publisher overall. But as a single, like a singular tankobon, a singular work by one artist, the Karman line. I think the Karman line is such a good manga that, even if you're not a fan of manga or comics in general, just storytelling. It's just a masterful piece of storytelling that is very unique. But yeah, Karman Line, a very big fan of their stuff. I don't believe that Mitsuhashi Kotaro has made any other manga recently. All I've kind of seen is just their graphic design work, but I mean, I'm looking out. If they're ever publishing more, then I will definitely pick them up. Yeah, that was the Karman Line. So the next one we'll go through, I picked up in the same haul that I got the Karman Line with. So this one is called From This Flame by Oumi Konoumi. It's another short story collection, a bit of a thinner one, but this one is amazing as well, because if we take a look at their art style, it is so nice. It reminds me, some of the art reminds me of like To the Sea by Mukoubi Aoi, which I showed before, in terms of the detail, but it does switch up. We have some short stories where it's a lot more heavy with the ink, like this one for example. But we've got 8 short stories here. That's we've got a little afterword as well. So this was published 2021, and towards the end we've got a little afterword where the author explains each of the stories, but it's another work that is very dreamlike. Some of them actually showcase like specific dreams from characters in here. And so I'll just read the description for this. So, a mix of quietness and fury, an unraveling yarn in the night. From This Flame collects 8 stories that reach into the wellspring of myth and imagine the world that comes after. Yeah, so it's a very fantastical work. This is definitely my favorite 2 pages from the entire book. But yeah, it's a very thin one. So if you're looking for a short and sweet hit of some dreamlike, fantastical manga, pick this one up, From This Flame, Oumi Konoumi. Okay, moving on to another work that is quite short too. Here we've got a work that is titled Give Her Back to Me by Hana Chatani. So this is the artist that I was referencing beforehand. They are from New Zealand. So here is a little description of them. I will also link their socials in the description as well. But this is altogether one story. It's a story that is focusing on family, but also on this specific heirloom and curses. We're sort of looking at curses, and it's got a twist towards the end that I wasn't expecting at all, which was really cool to see. But yeah, if you check out their Instagram, I believe they're only on Instagram, they will have a lot of their portfolio there, so all the other artwork that they've done over their career. This is, from my belief, one of maybe 2 or 3 other comics that they've done, but this is the only one published by Glacier Bay. Yeah, it's also one thing I really love as well is that the cover of this, it reminds me of those, like, I forgot what publisher it was, but those shoujo manga publishers, they've got like, I think it was Red and Blue. I don't remember the actual publisher name, but it's very reminiscent of that. They publish like a lot of the older classic shoujo stuff. So and you gotta love the green and purple. I think green and purple is amazing color combo. But yeah, Give Her Back to Me, another short and sweet hit of manga if you're looking for anything that is focused on the supernatural side of things, like curses and weird, creepy stuff. Okay, so next one, we've got Mothers by Kusuhara Umi. So Mothers was recently nominated for the Best New Manga Award at the 2024 American Manga Awards. So seeing that, I was very happy because I wasn't actually expecting to see something like this, which is, at least in comparison to other works that are being released right now, like a lesser known manga getting that recognition was amazing. So in this book, we've got a collection of 15 short stories, no, 12 short stories that have been collected over 15 years of self-published works that Kusuhara Umi has done. So It's a lot of different premises that appear throughout the entire work, but we do have a lot of them dealing with family. Actually, yeah, a couple of them dealing with family, with different... I'm just trying to remember because I haven't read this for a while. I did read this a while ago when I did pick it up, but I remember really enjoying this one. And so the manga actually is currently serializing a music manga called Yagate Hitotsu no Oto ni Nare. So it started in September 2023. And I think there's only maybe 1 or 2 volumes out so far. But I really enjoy the art style of Kusuhara. It's very suited for slice of life stuff and drama works. But just to read out like a section of the description of this. So Mothers contains 12 short stories that encapsulate different facets of the human experience. A man grapples with his complicated relationship with his mother, who he abandoned after leaving home for college, and whose heart and body were too big for the world to be kind to. A young girl finds a small bird and nurses it back to health, etc., etc. So a lot of cool stories that pop up here. Love the cover art for this as well. There is a Japanese version that is released of this, but yeah, gotta love the English version. It's so nice. Yeah, so that was Mothers by Kusuhara Umi. So we're nearly done. I think I've got maybe like 4 more books left, so I'll get those now. Yep, we do have 4 more books. Alright, so these are the last 4 books that I have out of my Glacier Bay collection. So let's start off with this one, just because we've got another book that will be coming soon by the same author. So I've shown this off a long time ago on the channel, but this is the Mermaid Town book by Tomohiro Tsugawa, and it's a collection of stories that focus on specific dreams that are mapped out in one environment. So the material itself is over the course of 10 years. This was published in 2022. So we've got 9 different stories. So we've got a preface here. 9 different stories that are in various settings in this sort of dream world. And it is a text-heavy manga. So if you're really into all these dreamlike settings being established and given a lot of time to be expanded upon, then I would recommend this one. So throughout the whole thing, we follow this our main character here who traverses those dream worlds, who's he's always just eyeless, doesn't have a face, but a lot of crazy things happen in this manga. And what's cool as well is we've got this red sort of printing to the edges of the manga. So if I go to the back, yeah, it's described as a dream journal short story collection. So the next installment in this series has already been announced. It's called, I don't know how to pronounce it properly, but The Artagnan's Horse. So it's the 2nd volume of dream journal manga that Tomohiro has done, but it is self-contained. So you do not have to have read, you don't have to read this book to understand what happens in this upcoming 2nd volume. So pick it up, and it's like it's got a really nice cover. I think it was green and blue from my memory, but very captivating color combination for both volumes of this dream journal series. So yeah, highly recommend. It's a nice contrast to the other works that we've shown so far, because most of them are more simple, very, I'll say, gentle. This one here, we've got very text heavy, chaotic works that you've got these giant explanations. So it's a really good contrast and variety to have with you when going through the rest of the books published by Glacier Bay. So yeah, look out for that one. I'll put up the announcement link for that specific book in the description. Now we'll move on to the final sort of individual manga before we move on to the Glaeolia collection. So this is A Favorable Wind on Full Sails by Arantoochika. And this one is more leaning towards the Gekiga side of things. So arantoochika, if you check out their socials, I've seen before, I think maybe on their Twitter, I believe, they've got an amazing Hayashi Seiichi collection, and I believe they posted the whole Yagyo collection too, the manga magazine. But yeah, they are very influenced by those Gekiga greats like Hayashi and Shinichi Abe and the Tsuge brothers, which you'll see in their work. So another short story collection here, and as we flick through them, you will notice those visual similarities between the Gekiga mangaka that were publishing in Garo at the time. And so all of these were self-published. Some stories were issued in the manga magazine Kaku, which I've shown off before. But love this one too, especially with the cover. The cover and the back specifically. Blue and orange was a color combination which I wasn't expecting to love this much. Oh, and here it is described as Gekiga works as well. So a lot of these stories are, they're kind of like Neo Gekiga in a way where it has that same style of Gekiga back in like the 70s and 80s, but with a sort of, you can tell like a modern sort of touch to things, where it's the same themes of people fed up with life, drifting aimlessly through time, you know, very sad but very strange stories that you just have all of these feelings come across, and you're reminded of all those mangaka like Oji Suzuki, Shinichi Abe. It is very similar in that sense, but very raw stories is pretty much what I think Gekiga's selling point is. Yeah, I will also link the description, link the post that he made where he showed off his Hayashi Seiichi collection. It's really cool. And the Yagyo thing, if I can find it. But I would very much recommend this if you're into Gekiga in general, or willing to try out Gekiga. It's from my knowledge, you know, Glaeolia has shown off some works that are kind of similar to this one here, but overall it's another work that I would say really diversifies everything that Glacier Bay puts out. There's no other book from my knowledge right now that they've published which is focused purely on this Gekiga style. Although they have announced in the past that they might be doing something with Kawakatsu Tokushige, which will pop up in the Glaeolia volumes. So yeah, highly recommend this one if you're interested in Gekiga. Favorable Wind on Full Sails. Now we head to the last books that I have in the collection, the Glaeolia anthologies. So we'll start off with three. So the reason why we started with three is because this was my very first book from them. We've got a cover here by Warachizu, one of my favorite manga of all time now. I do believe I have the postcard somewhere hidden in my postcard collection, but Glaeolia 3 was my very first book from them, and man, it's such a fond memory going through this book, because I remember just the feeling of being so surprised in the best way possible of how much variety there was in this collection. So if you take a look here of all of the different types of stuff, so you've got two works by Junichiro Saito, you've got one work by Yokoyama Yuichi, Oumi Konoumi, Kondo Akino. So many artists that when you put them all in one short story collection, it just honestly just sells the book on itself. Like, you just look at this roster and immediately I would buy it even without knowing anything about the book itself. And so I'll just quickly flip through this here. Was this where I know? So I do have, let's say, okay, yeah. So there was the Mitsuhashi Kotaro story in here from Karman line. So out of everything here, I've got works by Junichiro Saito, I've got Shit Chofu, I've got works by Yokoyama Yuichi, of course, Oumi Konoumi, which we showed off before, Kondo Akino, I do have the art book from them, and of course we have the Karman line too. So one work that I do want to, so this is by Oratni, one work that I do want to spotlight from this manga is this one here. Yamada Isao, White Dream. So I was really surprised to find this story in here. After I read it, after I researched more, I really wanted to pick up their tankobon. I've only seen one tankobon that they've ever released, but that was like $100, and I for like the longest time I was sort of hesitant because it was such a expensive book, but now it's out of stock, so I'm like kind of regretting it. But this mangaka Isao Yamada, very curious as to how they got the license for this, because this is published in Hokuto Shobo. It's a mangaka that I guess is in a different world than the stuff that we've shown so far, because a lot of the other stuff, you know, we've looked at were more recent doujin indie artists, you know, just doing stuff in Komitia, self-publishing works. But Isao Yamada, I believe, was from an era before that. Like, you know, they were published by Hokuto Shobo. Got to be before the 2000s. So really curious as to how they got this license in there. So even better, right? It's just another surprise, even after reading the book, going back and researching these mangaka. Yeah, an amazing diverse collection of art styles, of stories in this one. I really do want to pick up the tankobon from this artist here by the name of Yagi, what was it? Yagi Nagaharu. It's a crazy sci-fi work that they have in this one here. But yeah, that was Glaeolia 3. Oh, here are the artists there. So I have shown these off before on the channel, but because, you know, it's a Glacier Bay video, I got to show them off again. This one's Glaeolia 1. This is not the original. This is the reprint of Glaeolia 1, which came out, I feel like the reprint maybe came out in 2024, but the original came out in 2020. And the original, well, this is the original. This came out in 2022. So here we've got a cover by Mori Masayuki. And then here are the artists in this one. Morizumi Takehito, I've got a work by them. Have I showed it off on the channel before? I'm actually not too sure, but here we go. Got this one here by them. Haven't read this one yet, but they've got a very unique art style, so we'll show this off in the channel in the future. Hyuichi Tana, I've got a work by them. Amazingly detailed artwork. And then we've got Mogcom. I've also got something by them. Arantoochika, this is a work that is featured in the tankobon that I showed off before. Kawakatsu Tokushige, I've got something by them. Masumura. And oh, Shinosuke Saika. I do not have anything by Saika yet, but they recently released, I think on Glacier Bay, there was like a digital collection, so you can read it online in like one bundle. Haven't bought that yet, I probably should after this. And Naoto Yamakawa, another surprise when reading this for the first time. Another artist that I wasn't expecting in English at all, because I've seen their works tons, like around everywhere, but not in English. None of it is in English from my memory, and as far as I know, nothing now. So yeah, we've got Morizumi here, Hyuichi Tana. This is what I was talking about, very detailed. It's just a silent manga the whole way through. Just so much diversity, it's crazy. I think this, like, it really embodies what an anthology should really be, with how strange strange everything is, with how there's something for everyone in these pages. But yeah, so that was Glaeolia 1, the reprint. I do not have Glaeolia 2. I guess there hasn't been a reprint so far. It's been a bit tough because of licensing issues with some of the stories in there. But from my memory, I do know that there was a story by Miki Yamamoto in there. There was also a story by, what was her name? This artist. Shino Ura. There was a story by Shino Urane. And who else? Glaeolia 2. From my memory, I don't remember exactly, but I'll figure it out. I'll put it in the description as well. But yeah, so that was, hopefully I didn't miss anything, but that is every single book that I have from Glacier Bay Books, my #1 publisher at the moment, in terms of what is to come. So what other books are they releasing? So #1 is Star Clock Little, so a classic shoujo manga that's is, unfortunately, you can only get it and buy it off their website if you are in, I think it was the States, Canada, and the UK, due to licensing restrictions. Shout out to Seb or Nox Archive on Instagram. He's helping me get a copy of that to send to Australia, so very grateful to him. Shout out to him. I'll put his the link in the description below to his Instagram and his socials. But yeah, Star Clock Little, just another amazing addition to the catalog. Classic shoujo manga, which we haven't had so far from Glacier Bay, so very, very excited for that, especially because Star Clock Little, the mangaka for the story, which I can't recall the name of off the top of my head, but infamously they have suppressed like reprints in the past. There maybe is like one reprint in Japanese and there's one in French, I believe, but other than that, they kind of disappeared and just, you know, didn't want anyone to reprint their work. So that, the pre-orders are open now. Well, today's the 27th of Feb, so it might end soon. But next thing as well was the second volume to the Dream Journal series by Tomohiro Tsugawa. That is popping up soon. And another amazing, just another announcement that really made me happy was we're getting a story by Ding Pao Yen, who is a Taiwanese author. And they have been on my radar for quite a while. I've been seeing their works from Mangasick for a long time, and I've really wanted to pick up something from them. They've got art books and comics as well, but just in amazing timing, Glacier Bay had announced that they were going to release an English collection of their works, the first collection in English. So super excited for that one. I can't wait to read that. It's another bucket list manga to tick off for me. But yeah, so I think other than that, on their website you can see some other like announcements of future manga to be released. I know they have previously announced something by Kawakatsu Tokushige, but it's not, I guess, fully solidified yet. So those three will be the next set of manga to look out for. So Star Clock Little, second Dream Journal series by Tomohiro Tsugawa, and the Ding Pao Yen comic short story collection. But yeah, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I will be trying to pick up any missing pieces I do have from the rest of their catalog, because I did kind of come late into the manga game, the alt manga scene. Different stores that I've, like, if you're outside of the States and Canada, in terms of how to get these books, sellers like Sendai Books, their distributor of Glacier Bay, they did help out with the Kickstarters. They ship overseas with pretty cheap shipping, so I've been buying a lot of my my Glacier Bay stuff from them. I got the Kickstarter from Glacier Bay. We've got Cockatoo Comics in Australia. They sometimes have Glacier Bay stuff too. I think right now they do have a lot of the Kickstarter books available on their website. So if you are from Australia and you're looking for those Kickstarter books that I showed at the beginning, please check them out. But yeah, shout out to just the people working behind the scenes of Glacier. So Ima, Laika, I think I don't know everyone, but I know Tim's son does a lot of the lettering and stuff. Juchika, I've seen a lot of in the credits. Sorry, I don't know everyone who does the behind the scenes and keeps everything running, but shout out to all of them. They're doing an amazing job. I think they're really on the forefront of pushing alt manga, and really like spreading all of these diverse and amazing artists, which will, like, who else has been pushing this amount of variety up to Western manga readers. It's crazy. But yeah, so I hope this video has persuaded you to at least check them out. Couple of books, they're amazing. I think I will continue to, you know, talk about their books on my channel. It's something that I really want to spotlight. You know, maybe the next couple of books that I get from them, I'll do another spotlight collection. But I have been thinking of doing more of these, like, maybe not publisher, yeah, maybe publisher spotlights, but these grouped videos where I show off different books that were published by the same people. I was thinking actually of doing, well, maybe doing a LDC spotlight video because I do have a lot of works by them, and a lot of them are prints and posters, which may be a bit tough to show with the limited space I have here on my desk, but I think it may be doable because in the previous video I did of a manga haul, I did show off an Ichiba poster, and that was able to fit. So maybe in the future I will be able to do that because a lot of it is Ichiba stuff, Ichiba posters, but on top of that, a lot of silkscreen books as well. So that was an idea that I had, LDC spotlight video. In terms of other ideas, maybe more themed videos, like different manga that all focus on theme, like yokai or slice of life manga. Yeah, still thinking of a lot of stuff because right now I've just sort of been sticking to just the manga hauls, manga spotlights, but it can be a bit tough because I do have so many weird manga that can be hard to link together. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed this very long, how long is it? 1 hour and 13-minute video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.